All right, everybody, we're going to get ready to get started. Full moon, how we looking? Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. The regular council meeting for Tuesday, April 27th, 2021 is called to order at 7:06 p.m. Stand for silent meditation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. May I please have roll call, please?
Roll call. Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Urban.
Present.
Councilperson Perrella. Councilperson Ward. Councilperson Martin.
Here.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manager. Interim Village Attorney is on Zoom. And Chief Magnuson.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Appreciate it. May I please have approval of the agenda? Are there any additions or deletions? If not, may I please have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. May I please have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Urban. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing none. Agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes for last council meeting, which was March 23rd, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Urban. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing no nays. Moving right along. Right now, we're for acknowledgement of visitors and or special presentations. Chief Magnuson, you and Mr. Lopez are up first. Wonderful situation here.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
This is, I guess, 2 months in a row now that I've been more than thrilled to be able to salute the officers of El Portel. Last month, was able to honor an officer that saved a life and one that assisted other officers throughout the beginning of the year by getting officers vaccinated. Today, though, there's a special award I want to give, a life-saving ribbon. And as I said last month, the nominations come through me, and I either approve them or decline them, and I don't decline them. What I take great joy in is when I get to nominate the person, then I'm pretty sure it's going to get approved by me. But you know, that's what happens. I guess it's it comes with the territory. I'm going to read in my nomination. I'll read it, and when I'm done reading it, you'll understand exactly the officer that I'm honoring tonight, Officer Angel Lopez, what in fact he did, and the bravery he showed. That didn't just make the El Portel Police Department look good, but I think it made law enforcement look good throughout the area, throughout the state, throughout the country. Because at the end of the day, That's what law enforcement does, despite a lot of the naysayers that may say otherwise. On April 12th, 2021, a day much like any other for Officer Angel Lopez, his shift ended and he took his familiar path back towards Interstate 95 for his daily ride back home. Only long before reaching the familiarity and traffic of I-95 on a Monday, he came across an incident which would forever change his life and the life of a previously unknown woman who he ultimately saved. Officer Lopez, heading south on Miami Avenue nearing 85th Street, saw a vehicle get sideswiped by another vehicle inadvertently, causing the vehicle to lose control and careen down an embankment into the C7 canal. Without hesitation, Officer Lopez pulled aside and prepared to enter the canal. He located a trustworthy citizen to hold onto his gun belt and radio. Running back to the car to secure it in the trunk would have taken too much time. So he did the right thing. There wasn't an option really when time's of the essence. He slid down the embankment, much like a child slides down a slide in a park. You get the point. And he entered the water. He waded over to the submerged car and gave thanks that the window was open. He was able to reach into the open window and extract the driver from what surely would have been her tomb. Prior to entering the water and dropping his gun belt, it's important to note that Officer Lopez had the wherewithal to get on the radio and request emergency assistance from Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. As usual, they got there rapidly. Officer Lopez was able to climb out of the water with the ladder that Fire Rescue placed. Fire Rescue was then able to secure the woman on a board and lift her from the canal. Now, what I said to some media inquiries that initially came in on Monday afternoon, I'll repeat now because I feel it in my heart. Officer Lopez is a bona fide hero. He saved this woman's life and did so by springing into action without a second of hesitation. I'm proud to know such a person. He may work for me, but he's also my friend, and I have a world of respect for this man. Hence, I proudly nominated Officer Lopez for a variety of Officer of the Month awards. The winner being chosen is out of my control, but what I do have control is the life-saving ribbon that I proudly give him right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I represent and give to you Officer Angel Lopez. Yeah, do it right. Do it right.
Okay. We also have a representative from Mayor Levine Cava, our county mayor. It's Melanie Burke. I know that she also wanted to, Madam Manager, I know he's being interviewed by Channel 7 News right now, but let's let him know so that he can come back in, Madam Manager, right after they interview him. Because our Miami-Dade County Mayor, Mayor Levine Cava, also wanted to have him recognized. Mr. Lopez. It's not over. We we appreciate you more than you know. Mrs. Burke, if you want to go to the microphone, maybe, and she'll introduce the next thing for you. Thank you.
Sure. We heard about your heroic act at the county, and Mayor Kava said she definitely has to congratulate you. And so she sent a video giving you some well wishes.
One of the very best parts of being mayor of Miami-Dade County is having the honor to serve alongside incredible men and women who truly embody what it means to be a public servant. Hardly a day goes by that I am not awestruck by the selflessness or sacrifice made by one of our own right here in Miami-Dade County. But what Officer Angel Lopez did, his act of heroism, is one instance that truly stands out. When Officer Lopez saw a car that had been driven into a canal and he realized that there was a woman in danger, it didn't matter that he was off duty and that he was coming home after a long day at work. He did something that not many others would have the courage to do, and he put his own life in jeopardy in order to save someone else's. Officer Lopez's act of valor is a reminder to all of us that the work of public service never truly ends. It really is a way of life. And I want to personally thank you from the bottom of my heart, as well as all of our officers in Miami-Dade County, for their tireless efforts to keep us all safe. I really could not be more proud to serve the people of Miami-Dade County by your side.
And so on behalf of Mayor Danielle Levine Cava, I present to you the certificate of appreciation, and it reads, Officer Angel Lopez, El Portal Police Department, as mayor and on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and the residents of Miami-Dade County, I take great pleasure in presenting this certificate of appreciation to you in recognition of your bravery and quick thinking, which helped save a life. Thank you for going above the call of duty and being an example of valor for others to emulate. On this, the 27th day of the month of April 2021 in Miami-Dade County, Florida. Signed by the chairman, Jose Pepe Diaz, and of course, our very own mayor, Daniela Levine Cava.
Thank you guys for that. Really appreciate it. Okay. Next up, you guys, we have, I'm going to move to the podium. Thank you. On a much more somber note, and you guys will see this in the next few coming months also. Recently, we've lost residents of El Portal, unfortunately. And the first one I'm going to recognize this month is Mr. Eugene Donaldson. Lived right back here in Sherwood Forest, right? Which is arguably you would say the most beautiful part of our village back here sometimes, Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson spent his life in service to humanity, earning a degree in urban planning with a stint in the U.S. VISTA program, volunteering in various parts of New York, followed by several years of participating with the Peace Corps in Colombia. Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson expanded his love of local cultures and nurtured his passion to learn from others and help those in need as he delighted in learning languages, studying many and mastering a few, which allowed him to communicate more easily across the world with those he encountered. Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson, since lifelong study was that of the human body and many natural healing methods, as he started with the study of polarity therapy and dove more deeply into the exploration of the energetic, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of the field of massage therapy and other complementary therapies. Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson participated in creating the Educating Hands School of Massage, which was a means to share his developing skills and support others in their journey into deeper self-awareness on their way to becoming healing guides themselves. Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson was a natural healing guide, sharing freely his wisdom and understanding of the human body and spirit, as he did in the 1980s during the AIDS epidemic, where he boldly created the Palms Foundation to give a supportive touch to those suffering and dying in hospitals from this devastating disease, which led to over 40 years of providing a healing touch to countless individuals, impacting their lives in more ways than just the touch he provided. Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson also took a deep shine to the fruits of the earth and also the plant world, where he had a strong draw to the mighty bamboo, even buying a farm in Costa Rica to grow it for sustainable housing, which led him to create Santario Contemplative Gardens, a means to bring the wild world of natural landscaping to the homes of many. Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson continued his mission of service, becoming a certified chaplain to minister to those in hospice care, supporting them through their peaceful passing and helping their families to come to terms with the process of death and dying. Whereas Mr. Eugene Donaldson, after traveling the world and gathering wisdom, artifacts, and friendship, sadly passed away peacefully in his sleep on the shores of the Little River, surrounded by his lush gardens right here in El Portal. Now, therefore, I, Omar C. Nickerson, Mayor of the Village of El Portal, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2021 as Eugene Donaldson Day here in the Village of El Portal, as I encourage all citizens to join together in acknowledgement of the wonderful contributions to society made by Mr. Eugene Donaldson, our fellow resident of El Portal. I have some of his family members here. I know that one wanted to come up and say a few things.
So I've been asked to say something. Eugene was a very, very special man for anyone who had the privilege to know him. And for those of you who have been in El Portal, he was here for over 30 years. And he took a little spot in Sherwood Forest and turned it into the most amazing, lush garden filled with tropical plants that he gathered from around the world, and dedicated himself to making it just an exquisite, special place at the foot of the Indian Mound. So thank you very much for the acknowledgement of his role in this community and in the world. He's very special. Thank you. That's amazing. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to say that because of the Tequesta Native American Mound, You guys all know that I'm half African American, half Native American. My dad's African American, my mom's Native American. Still lives on the reservation, the Sioux Reservation up in North and South Dakota. And we were discussing, talking about his love for the Native American Tequesta Mound. And I reached out to a couple of Native American organizations. They couldn't be here today, but they did want to send their love to the memory of Eugene Donaldson also. So just wanted to let you know that also. Thank you. I know some of his residents are watching from Alaska and other places, and we just want to say that our heart goes out to you guys, and we really appreciate you all. Okay. The family was really interactive with me, and they really reached out, and he has a huge family all over the world and they really were showing their support. So thank you very much for that, you guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Before we move on, I do want to take a picture or two with the family with the proclamation, and then we'll jump right into our resolutions and ordinances for today. Okay. No agenda items, resolutions, and ordinances. It's strictly down to business, right? So if you guys would please come up. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, here we go. How we looking? Full moon, we still good? All right, shout out to Full Moon, man. Sometimes technology, takes a while, but if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to have it at all. So we appreciate that. Right now, we're gonna move on to good and welfare. Right here, you guys, is the time where if you have anything that you want to say about this agenda item, about this agenda itself, you guys can come up and say whatever you want to say about this agenda itself. You have 3 minutes to do so. Only thing you have to do is come up and say your name and address for the record. Now, let me say this. When we go to each item, you will have a chance to come up and speak before we do the actual vote. Okay? All right. Do I have anybody for good and welfare? I'm seeing none. Okay, let's continue to move on. All right, so we're moving down to the resolutions and ordinances. The first one is resolution H1. This is 8650 Northeast Miami Court. I know Placerva is going to want to come up. Yes. Yes. These resolutions?
Yeah.
Yes, these resolutions were not only presented to us in the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, and we went through them in depth and in full, but these resolutions were also sent to us in our agenda packages that went out over the weekend.
I would like to simply call them out and provide for a single vote on all of the ordinances that are being recommended, since we've already talked about them. And if I can get Mr. Mayor, a second on that, that's how I'd like to do that. I do not want to see us stay in here and regurgitate what we've already done.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, we don't have to regurgitate what we've already done. If you remember from the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, these resolutions and these housing addresses, they were approved with conditions. If you guys remember that, there were conditions.
Right.
So we do have to see if they have met the conditions for each individual address before we just approve that address. We can't just approve all of these wholeheartedly together because there might not be the same condition.
Mayor, the other thing is that most of these are public hearings. Not everyone, but the zoning items are public hearings. So the council does not need to spend time discussing it, but you do have to open a public hearing and give anyone in the public that's come the opportunity to be heard if they wish to be heard. But there is no need for council discussion on the item. So Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward is correct to that extent.
Attorney Geller, if I may, Attorney Geller, both of these addresses were approved with conditions. Therefore, I understand there's a public hearing, and like I said, before we even got into the resolutions and ordinances, I said for every item, the residents will have a chance to speak before we vote. That's with every
Yes,
item.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we
I'm
do that.
saying that, that's your privilege to do for most items, but it's required where there is a public hearing. And you should take the staff report into evidence. The staff, our planning consultant, has recommended approval of both of those. That's a sufficient basis. That is enough evidence in the record for you to approve these. But, and again, Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward is correct that you don't have to have any extensive discussion. All you're required to do is take the staff report, open the public hearing, and then take a vote for the record.
I appreciate that, Attorney Geller. Attorney Geller, if everybody would have just let me continue, I had called Serbia up. I was going to let them do their staff report, and then we would have went for a motion to vote. Okay. Thank you very much, Juan. I appreciate it. If you can, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr.
Council
Mayor,
members.
pardon me. Is he gonna do all of what he needs to do at this time?
I'll keep it very brief. I'll read the request. I'll read the recommendation. I'll leave it up to you. I'll do one by one. There's only two. Would that be okay?
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you
very much.
So we have two applications. The first one is H1. It's for a property on 8650 Northeast Miami Court. The applicant requests site plan approval in order to construct a two-story rear addition and one-story south side addition, totaling approximately 18,053 square feet to a single-family existing residence. The application, this application has not changed, and neither has the recommendations. We still recommend approval with conditions. I'll read the conditions very quickly. The applicant's submittal package dated 12/24/2020 and subsequent versions need to be followed, as all the representations proffered by the applicant as part of the review of the application and public hearings, and all comments made during the review application and public hearings. All comments made by staff members and submitted to the applicant to be addressed prior to the building permit. Those are our recommendations. We recommend approval for that building. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Juan. I appreciate that. Are there any questions from the council?
Only one that we can vote all of the ones that he's approving all at once. A single motion. As Joe said, as the attorney said, there's no problem in doing that. So I appreciate it if he continue, Mr. Mayor, give him the opportunity to continue to read the ones that he's recommending approval with conditions.
Mayor, if I might though, Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward, you have to open the public hearing separately. So you'd have to have him come back for the second one. You do need to get the public hearing. If there are no questions from council, you do need to open the public hearing.
Very good. We're on the same page.
Are there any questions from the council? Hearing none. I'll open up the public hearing. Are there any questions from the public? Comments, questions? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to
Public hearing is
approve?
closed, Mr. Mayor.
Public hearing is closed.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve Resolution H1 8650 Northeast Miami Court?
So move.
Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. Madam Clerk, when you get a chance, ma'am, please have a roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Urbom.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kalinger, you guys, congratulations. Thank you.
That was a hard one.
Moving on to Resolution H2, you guys. This is the address 1 Northeast 87th Street. This also was covered in the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. So, Juan, the floor is
Thank you,
yours.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Council members, I believe the applicant has an additional exhibit that he wants to submit to you before I make my recommendation.
Is this part of, Juan, is this part of the conditions that came out of the Planning and Zoning meeting, or is this a new?
My understanding is that the additional information that he wants to share with you doesn't change the design or the application. It's a different rendering, which helps understand how this fits within the context of the neighborhood. So there's 2 boards lacking easels. We'll have human easels. Thank you. And I believe that there's some handouts for the council. It's really these are really for the public to see, since they have the application. If you want to just show it to the public. Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I will move forward and start reading. This is an application for 1 Northeast 87th Street. The staff report has not changed other than a condition has been removed, which is to be compliant and context sensitive with the neighborhood. The latest information that you have just received and you can review provides a couple of additional views for a couple of reasons: context sensitivity and fitting within the context of a village is somewhat subjective because it involves design. So the applicant has been kind enough to zoom out and allow you to see the building within that context, including some of the buildings that are around it. For that reason, we feel that empirically we recommend approval. Again, everybody has their taste and their opinion on style, but following the regulations that we have, we feel that it has come to a level of design that is compatible with the neighborhood, both in scale and in a building form, staying away again from the stylistic properties, the stylistic properties of the design. Again, we feel is compatible and we recommend approval with the following conditions: that the applicant submittal package from 2/25/21 and subsequent revisions be a part of that approval, that all representations proffered by the applicant as part of the review and application of public hearings be taken as part of this approval, that all comments made as part of the review application at public hearings, again, be a part of this approval, and all comments made by staff reviewers and submitted to the applicant to be addressed prior to the building permit. With that, we recommend approval, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions about this property for Serbia, Juan, from the council?
My only question is, what we have in front of us here is, in terms, I understand in regards to redressing the rendering, but in terms of like windows, things like that, we're looking at what matches with the plans, all of this. In terms of what we had discussed before, addressed and in good shape. Is that right?
Yes, from a
Okay.
permit
Okay.
perspective, we
Okay.
never go through with the renderings. The renderings
Right.
are just for your benefit.
Right.
So we go by plans and
Oh, it should be,
elevations.
yes.
And the rendering should be, again, taken to help us understand what those plans and elevations are being proposed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
I'd like to propose a motion to approval subsequent to the public hearing.
Motion to approve, we're going to still have the public hearing. Motion to approve by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Urban. Anybody else from the council before I go to the public hearing? We'll open this up for public hearing for the property of 1 Northeast 87th Street. If anybody wants to come up, has any questions or comments about this item, 1 Northeast 87th Street. Seeing none. Close public hearing. Back to the council. Anything lastly, Juan, you good? Anything else you want to say? You're good? Council, anything else you want to say? You guys are good? All right. We have a motion. We have a second. Madam Clerk, let's have a roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Urban.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Madam Clerk. We're moving on to H3. H3 is an ordinance. This is the first reading. Ordinance needs to have 2 readings. Resolutions only need 1 reading to go into effect, but ordinance needs 2 readings. This is an ordinance for the code amendment for alcoholic beverages. This is the first reading. Basically, just to explain to everybody out there what this is. You guys, El Portal, just in the past, has always had it to where if one business is selling alcohol of any sort, then another business within 2,500 feet cannot sell alcohol. Because we have Big Daddies right there, we have new developments that are going up. We have the skate park going up over there. We have the Cavisa development going up over there, which the first floor is going to be multi-use. And so we have other commercial properties that are going up that are within that distance from Big Daddies. Therefore, those other properties would not be able to sell alcohol. So you're talking about, little cafes that sell wine and croissants and things like that would not be able to do that. So we would basically be cutting off our entire face when it comes to business development within our community on the Biscayne side, the Biscayne corridor, right? So what this is right here is that this will, and we went over this in planning and zoning also, but this will also, you guys, take away that 2,500 feet barrier for other businesses that are within that space when it comes to being that close to Big Daddies. And it really moves the village forward as far as business production and business success within our community. So this is what this is the first reading. Like I said, ordinance needs 2 readings. Anybody from the council, is there anything else, Camilla, that you want to add before I turn to the council? You good?
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else from the council that has any questions or comments?
Just to give a historical reference on this, this was likely enacted to prevent there from being one corner, an intersection in El Portal that had 4 liquor stores. And so that is not what we are looking at in terms of what's going to happen as a result of this, but simply to allow cafes and small businesses to be able to serve, get a beer and wine license or, and not have Big Daddies have a monopoly on a half-mile radius around the property. Not that this was their doing, but just for historical background on that.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Urban. Anybody else from the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like to
Councilperson Lightfoot.
introduce a motion to approve first reading, subsequent to a second.
Motion to approve first reading by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second? I'm gonna open it up to the residents in a second. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Urban. Open up to the residents. Does anybody from any residents, how are we looking on Zoom? Thumbs up? Good. Any residents want to come up and have any comments or questions about this? This is the first reading, as we said. Seeing none. Back over here. Any last words from the council? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson. Vice Mayor Earl.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes. Yeah, that was Vice Chair
Motion
for a long
passes.
time. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. The next item, you guys, is H4. It's also an ordinance. This is the first reading. This ordinance, it will need a second reading. This is the ordinance about the adjustment of the building permit fees. So it's a code amendment for building department permit fees adjustment. This is the first reading. We do have the individuals that constructed these big building permit fees. You know, our permit fees had been, in place for many, many years, and like many things that we're trying to update, they were outdated. We went through this. We had a public hearing on it months ago, and we had a lot of information on this. But Mr. Jean, you can add whatever you want to add, but essentially, you guys, this is kind of how it goes, more or less. El Portal didn't have in place building permit fees for commercial properties over a certain building amount, and therefore we will be losing out on a lot of money coming in from permit fees from these new businesses that are going up in El Portal. So that's what this is to do that, so we can have that money come in the way that it should be done. We just didn't have that on the books. It didn't exist. So we had a building permit fee adjustment. Are there any questions from the council? Questions or comments from the council for Mr. Jean when it comes to the building permit fees?
I just have one question. What we're voting on tonight, does that include the tiered levels that was discussed for larger projects?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, that's my only question.
And also, good evening.
Wait a minute,
Sorry.
wait a minute. Wait. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
subsequent to Mr. Eugene, what's your last name? Eugene. Subsequent to Eugene's presentation and the structured process, I removed the first reading of these building code fees.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Motion made by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. We still will have Mr. Jean say his words. We still will have the residents be able to speak. Motion to approve.
I will second.
Second. Motion made by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, second by Vice Mayor Earl. Mr. Jean, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. Okay. Yes, good evening, everyone. This came about to modernize the permit fees because what we had in place was from the 1980s since it was last touched. So we're kind of, the village is entering, I guess, almost like a new era of mid-rise construction that's coming on board. So we wanted to modernize it in a way to capture the trends of construction that's going on. So this is what you have before you. If you have any questions, then please feel free. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jean. Any other questions or comments from the council before I open it up to the public?
Just a comment again,
No
to say thank you, Mr. Jean, for all the work you put into this. Seems certainly diligent, and I'm sure spent quite a bit of time on this. And just to say thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Irvine. Appreciate that. Anybody from the audience? How are we looking on Zoom? Thank you very much. Any residents from the audience want to come up and have any questions or comments about this agenda item, the permit fee adjustment, building permit fees adjustment? Seeing none. Back to the
Mayor.
council.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Attorney Geller.
Just one very quick comment. Some of you, particularly Vice Mayor and Councilman Perella, may recall that we did back at the end of the year, I think December, have first reading. The ordinance has changed so substantially, and I also want to echo the thanks to Mr. Jean for all of his hard work, because it changed so substantially is why it's back for a new first reading. So just it's a different one than the look we had before. Hopefully it'll be approved tonight and then on second reading. And as you say, Mayor, it'll allow the village to get a better, fairer share of the funds to be acquired from this new development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Geller. Appreciate that. Any last questions or comments from the council? Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot. Excuse me?
Please call the question.
I'm about to call for that in a second, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Hearing no more questions or comments, Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call, please?
Roll call, Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Councilperson Perella.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Erbaum.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jean. Appreciate you, my brother.
Can I shake your hand?
Moving on to the next ordinance, Ordinance H5, you guys. This is the Code Amendment Public Benefits Trust Fund. This is the first reading also. It's an ordinance. This is the first reading. So where this stems from is we have a development going up called the Cavisa development. Because it's Cavisa development, due to our design guides, our architectural guides, more or less, we have it in our guides to where these properties can only be 3 stories high. If they go above 3 stories high, then they have to, yeah, if they go above 3 stories high, then a plan has to be reached to where they, because of the extra concrete, essentially, that will be part of whatever goes above the 3 stories, which the Cavisa development is going to 5 stories. So they're having 2 extra stories. Because of those 2 extra stories, that'll be going up, we wanted to offset that by allowing them to be able to develop green space parks to offset the 2 extra stories of concrete. El Portal is very small. We don't have the green space for them to be able to develop. We just don't have the green space. Therefore, what was decided was that they would give El Portal money because of that, okay, in a trust fund. And that money would be for essentially things that would be needed for El Portal in order to help deal with either park renovation, any type of green things like that, or any type of ways where El Portal might be handled, or for lack of a better term, impacted by these new developments. So let me just say this before Juan, I know you want to jump in, but let me just say this. Being that's the case, and it came out to those extra two levels above the 3 levels came out to 1.3 million, Madam Manager, 1.2 million,
1.1 million.
1.1 million came out to $1.1 million. Now, the problem is that since we have the tot lot, and we have Little River Estates Park, and we have the nature trail. The original development plan, you guys, also was to be for, if you look at the original development plan, which you can see if you look in the council minutes under, I believe it's the April 2020 council minutes, you'll see the development plan. The original development plan also included road and street repair, the original development plan, and included police department. But that got sidetracked to where it was changed to only say park development. We have a tot lot, we have a nature trail, we have the Little River Estates Park, where we had the Arbor Day this past weekend.
And the Sherwood Forest,
And
Sherwood
the
Park.
And the Sherwood Forest Park, and the Sherwood Forest Park. There are things due to these new businesses going up that we need to really look into as a community that will be, for lack of a better term, impacted by these businesses going up. All I'm proposing here is to take this back to the original development agreement, to where street and road repair was part of it, to where the police department was part of it. What I'm looking to do, you guys, and the chief is here, and I might bring him up, what I'm looking to do is to, because our police department will be highly impacted by these new businesses going up. What I'm looking to do is add the police department back into that original development agreement the way it was, and to have some of that money be used for things that we need in the village that will be impacted by these new businesses. Juan.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, it's 6 + 2
6 + 2.
stories.
Yeah, okay, 6 stories.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Juan, appreciate it. Any comments or questions from the council for Juan, or Attorney Geller worked on this also very closely?
I have a question.
Yes.
These are essentially impact fees, correct? What
They're-
exactly are we calling this?
Their development agreement fees.
It's a development agreement between the applicant and
Yeah.
the village.
Okay.
Which
So
essentially,
there needs to be no nexus between the amount of money, what we use the money for, and what the development actually, like, whatever, I suppose, additional services are needed by the development. There needs to be no connection between those two.
No, that's really not, I would not say so.
Okay.
They're not impact fees in the
Okay, so
strict sense of the word, but they are in the nature of impact fees.
Okay.
Impact fees require a specific study, and they have to be quantified according to the results of the study. The regulations on development agreements are looser, but the money is still not just general revenue. It must be spent, as I said, they're in the nature of impact fees. So it can only be spent for things that are reasonably related to the development of the new construction. So for instance, if the new construction so burdened existing, say, sewer capacity, that a new pumping station was required, it would be proper, if this ordinance is approved on, first and second reading, it would be proper to spend money on a new pumping station. But you couldn't spend money on the new pumping station over by the middle school, because that's unrelated to the development. It would be proper if you needed to, say, expand the size of the police department, because there will be a lot more residents and there'll be more to patrol. So if it meant that you had to have an additional officer or two, that would be proper. But you couldn't just take the money and use it to pay existing salaries, because that's not reasonably related to the new development. So that your word is correct. There must be some nexus between them, but it is not as strict as an impact fee.
Okay, that's good to know. That's probably why we're crafting the ordinance or resolution so broadly, I'm assuming.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
can we hear from Juan in terms of his recommendation at this time?
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Anybody else from the council for any other questions or comments before I turn to Juan?
Yes, just the last, or I believe where we left this last was that of the 1.1 million in this agreement fee, that 300,000 essentially in three installments would be set aside. So the impact, the agreement, the fees from the agreement are coming in thirds. So more or less. So with groundbreaking, essentially a third, with the next step of development, a third, and then on completion, the final third. And so out of each of those third payments of the 1.1 million, 100,000 would be made available for something other than green space, as we discussed it specifically, the needs of the police department, at least initially. So I just wanted to recap for us here on the council where this discussion was last left in terms of dollar amounts.
Yeah,
Mayor,
yeah, go ahead, Attorney Gill. I think you were about to say what I was about to say. Go ahead.
I think so. Let me just say, Vice Mayor, you're correct. That was the conversation and a vote was taken. But because the ordinance was not in place, you're really not free to divide the funds until the ordinance is in place. I'm not saying I think the council will change its mind. I suppose it will not. But that was basically at that time a statement of intention as to what division you want to make. Once this ordinance that's up for first reading tonight, once it's approved on second reading, and it's then legal for you to direct the funds for other related purposes that have a nexus to the new development, you should probably come back and revote, even if it's exactly what you said previously. That can be a guide to you as to why you should approve it and what your intentions are as a council. But you really can't have voted to actually divide the funds until the ordinance permitting you to use it for other purposes is adopted.
Okay, that's very helpful. And then that leads me to a following question, which is, then in the event of this passing through first and second reading, becoming an ordinance, then will those funds essentially be at any potential risk for an eventuality where zero of those funds are used for green spaces?
I would tell you that I think that your doing so would be not in keeping with your previous statement of intention that you voted on, and with the understanding that existed when you decided to move forward on this. But if you're asking if you would be prohibited as a council from reaching whatever decision you reach, I can't tell you that you're prohibited as a council, because like most things, the council has broad discretion in what it does.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Juan, I'm going to move to you right now. Just let me say really quickly, you guys, the reason why we're doing it like this with these two ordinances first is because, first of all, when we first started to discuss this, Councilperson Martin, you weren't on the council yet. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, you guys weren't on the council yet. We decided, I believe it was 350,000, because I believe that Councilperson Perella, we decided 350,000. It went up another 50,000. But the reason why we're doing it like this with these two ordinances first, with the first reading and second reading, is because I wanted you guys, you council members, to be a part of the discussion of how much money should go where. that we already discussed, but I want to do that part over again. So what we're doing now is we're passing the ordinances in a general sense. And then after we pass the two ordinances, if they pass, both of them pass through first reading, second reading, then we'll do a resolution about the details of the actual money. And that's kind of how it's set up to go. Juan, the floor is yours, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I
Thank you.
really don't have much more to add. This is just opening up the ability for the village to use these funds, especially for police, which is a necessity when you have additional development happening and new residents coming to the village. And yes, Madam Councilwoman, this is very similar to impact fees. It just gives a little flexibility for the village, a village specifically of this size, when there's a development of a significant size, to be able to, really consider what kind of development it is and what kind of impact it has on our village. So it gives us that flexibility to be able to negotiate for whatever the village needs as it pertains to the new development. In other words, however that the new development affects the village.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
to
go ahead.
Juan, you're in favor of this ordinance? Is it properly laid out at this point or no? Because I haven't heard you say that.
Well, the language was written by the attorney. I have reviewed it. I don't have anything against it.
Okay. I think I've already proofed the motion, have I not?
Yes.
I thought so.
And let me just say for clarification, Placerbia this is not between Placerbia and this is the Cavisa development.
That's right.
Correct.
So, all right. So it's not like when we were doing the house situation, it's not like Placerbia put this together. It wasn't like that.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Although a point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, it is modifying the code.
It is.
That's right. That's all. I
So
wanna
for
know.
future development, this will be enforced.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's why it's called a code amendment.
Sure.
That's what I wanna hear.
All right. Thank you very much. There is a motion by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. There is a second. I'm going to open up to the residents in a second. Was there a second? No. There's a motion by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Before I open it to the residents, do I have a second on
What
this
was the
first
motion?
reading?
What was the motion by Councilwoman Ward?
The motion was to approve the first reading of
No.
H5.
Second.
I have a second by Councilperson Martin. Before I go to the audience, do I have anybody else from the council that wants to say anything?
I do, but I'll let anybody else speak if they have something to say first.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Very good. So again, I might have one more question for Attorney Geller, and that would be, if we pass this, does this, the way these fees came about was a calculation of how much green space El Portal had available for development, coupled with how much of the land to be developed, the Cavista project, would contain green space. And out of that calculation came an agreement of $1.1 million. So if we pass this ordinance through first and second reading, Attorney Geller, would that mean that any agreement fee in the future would be of a different nature, or would we still be calculating agreement fees like this based on green space in El Portal?
Well, the green space, and let me just say, I invite our planning consultant to jump in if I say something that doesn't sound right to him. I've got my lane and they have theirs, and I respect their lane. I wasn't here when this ordinance was originally adopted, but my understanding is that the green space was really related to the amount of bonus that they would be able to receive in terms of extra height and units. But the actual dollar amount was arrived at by a different mechanism. It was arrived at by a calculation that was related to the believed to be market value of the extra units that were being granted. Is that pretty much right, Mr. Mullerat? Did I say that right? Mr. Moore?
I would say 95%. Yes, you're right. The other 5% that I'm not sure about is, I think it was a market value of the square footage that it would have required the applicant to buy land to devote to open space. I believe that was the way that this was calculated. It wasn't the value of the additional residential square footage for those two additional units, but those two additional floors, I believe.
If
I
I can
think-
add to that, yes, it was the value of what it would cost to purchase property within the village of El Portal. That would be the amount of green space that was
To
required.
be dedicated for open space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that would be two parcels, both valued at $400,000 each.
Well, thank you both. Thank you, Madam Manager, and thank you, Mr. Mulrad, as well. With that said, the answer to the question is, because the formula was a bit more flexible and less mathematically precise based on some market considerations. If the next substantial development comes along and similarly seeks bonus height and bonus square footage, it would not necessarily be the exact same mathematical formula, because a component of it is what it would cost based on market factors to purchase, as you've heard, comparable additional land in the village to enable the developer to do exactly the number of units and the number of square footage that they propose. So if it's 2 years from now and land has become considerably more precious and more valuable, someone seeking a similar height and amount of square footage might find themselves paying more. But conversely, if the real estate market is significantly softened, they would be able to argue that the price ought to be less. This is, after all, a negotiated number. The village is not obligated to allow someone to get that bonus, but it is within, that was the purpose of adopting the underlying ordinances and public benefits program, was to give the village the flexibility to do that. But it is less mathematical than you might otherwise suppose. So I would have to say, I don't think we're entirely locked in here. And of course, we also have the opportunity to amend the ordinance further, but it's not by right that a developer can get that. It's at the discretion of the village council, but in keeping with your ordinance.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. So with that, just as we discuss this, I just want to remind the council of how this discussion came to, and that was, okay, 1.1 million is a lot of dollars for El Portal to dedicate to just green space, right? And while I do agree with that, and I certainly recognize and support the need that the police department has and the opportunity that this affords, I just want to throw out there again, there really probably is only one other project that will occur in El Portal that of a similar nature that might generate a similar fee, and that's going to be the little farm whenever it is finally developed. So it's not like these opportunities are going to be coming down the road frequently. We have one other chance, potentially, maybe. In addition to that, while there's not a lot of green space to be developed in El Portal, I do want to remind everybody we are talking about a potential expansion of a nature trail, providing, schools, Miami-Dade school system participation in that. And again, like I said, if a lot does become available, we would want to be competitive in being able to acquire that if it fit into the plan as an unknown in the future. So I just want to warn us against saying, oh, well, we don't need 1.1 million for green space, so let's reallocate all of it. And like Councilperson Roman had said, that can go really quickly, and then we'll be left with with no more nest egg. So so that's my 2 cents on that, and I'll leave it there.
No, I appreciate it. I'm about to go to the residents and see if they have anything to say. Let me just say very quickly, that's why you're absolutely correct, Vice Mayor Erbaum. That's why, months ago, me, yourself, and Councilperson Perrella, we decided to take no more than, we were at 300,000, and then Councilperson Perrella suggested the extra 50. So we were like 350,000 cap. And we capped it there so that the rest of that money could still be there for green spaces and stuff like that.
Very
So
good.
that's the reason why we did that.
Very good.
Anybody from the residents, you guys? Anybody from the audience got anything, comments, questions? How we looking on Zoom? Thumbs up on Zoom. We good? All right, let's bring it back. Okay, so we have a motion. Juan, any last words? You good?
May I have that
Yeah,
other item
yes.
after?
Oh,
After you vote.
After we
After the
vote?
vote.
Okay, no problem. Any last words from the council? Questions, comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call, Councilperson Martin,
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward,
Yes.
Councilperson Perrella,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Erbaum,
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Mr. Morat.
Yes, thank you. Before leaving, Mr. Mayor, if I can have just 5 minutes of your time, I'd like to go over and bring to your attention the fact that the Senate in Tallahassee met yesterday. There's a couple of bills that affect us, and we would like to look a little bit further into them. I'm going to go through them very quickly. There's just 4 of them. The first one is growth management. That is with regards to our comprehensive plan, which, as you know, we are redrafting, updating, and we're following that one closely. That was passed yesterday. It's Bill 1274 by Senator Perry. The second one that we're looking at, which I think is the one that I'd like a little bit of direction from the council, it's a local preemption bill titled Building Design. It's HB 401. And the Senate amended this bill yesterday, and it was approved quite broadly. The bill prohibits local governments from applying land development regulations that require specific building design elements to single or two-family dwellings, unless, and there's some caveats there, and knowing that the council has been looking for the ability to, well, we have it written in our charter that we have the ability to go through site plan approval, which requires a certain amount of understanding of what the context is for the village. And I know that the council feels strongly that new construction should fit within the context so that it's harmonious with the look and feel of the village. The one caveat is number 7 of its unless legislation, which would be that the dwelling is located within the jurisdiction of a local government that has a design review board or architectural review board. And then it includes other language, which we will look into a little bit more detail. The reason why I bring this one up specifically is because we don't have a review board. Currently, the review board is us, and we are not an elected board, elected or appointed board. And I don't think that we can consider ourselves neither a design review board or an architectural review board. For that reason, I would recommend that the council considers the creation of a design review board. I can give you, for example, a very successful architectural review board is the one in Coral Gables, which includes architects and other professionals that review plans before they come to P&Z. So it would be, I know what's going through your head right now. Another board, more process, more time. Well, that's something that, of course, you have to consider. What I discussed, Mr. Mayor, I will mention, I believe I discussed with a couple of you, it doesn't really have to be more money because if you do it in the way, and I believe at Coral Gables, the members are voluntaries. And our firm will be willing to attend these meetings at no cost because I know it's a burden and I know but I think it's necessary. And I believe it would take somewhat, a little bit, the burden from you and from us, even though we can still opine as to the merits of new applications. It will go to a specific board that is set up by you that will take, I guess, point in giving us their recommendations as residents of the village. So yes, more time, yes, more money, but it will be my money. Hopefully not yours, because at the end of the day, again, there will be volunteers. And for us, it will also probably reduce the amount of time that we have to spend on these. So I think that at the end of the day, it'll be a benefit to the village. I think now.
And for the village.
It'll depend obviously also on the makeup of this board. Hopefully it's a board that, it's like any board that works well together, that meets on a regular basis, that there's quorum that is met, etc. That's it. So that's the one that I would like an opinion or a move to create that board. That would be my recommendation. The other item that needs to be brought up is Bill HB 403, which is home-based businesses. It basically defines, it considers what a home-based business is, and under this bill, the business must operate in whole or in part in a residential property and meet certain criteria. So that's something that we have to look into, and also probably modify our zoning code to make sure that we are in compliance with the state statutes. And that's it. Those are the bills that we are tracking. And really the only one that I feel that we should move forward with is some way of being able to address new applications based on their architectural and contextual merit. That's all for me.
Through the mayor, what was the bill for growth management?
For growth management is Bill SB, it's SB 1274.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Morat, so you're saying that we need to, from what I gather, we need to pick that board, we need to put it together much sooner rather than later?
So
Passed yet.
I will defer to the attorney who has a lot of experience in Tallahassee, but I believe we have a little bit of time to get acquainted with the new bill. And I'm not sure that it's in force or that we have some time between the time that the bill has been approved by the Senate and the time of I think that there is a time that we can figure out a way to move forward with this and change our zoning code, obviously.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
these bills are going through a reading. Am I to understand that Senate Bill 1274 has already passed the House?
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
And am I to understand the House Bill 401 and 403 have already passed the Senate?
Both
So both,
House and Senate.
both have already passed and they're
Yep.
in their final stage of voting.
They have
Your
been voted on.
perception, your perception is that the bills will pass?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass favorably. Okay, with that said, we really don't have to do anything till we see what the final version of the bill is, right? Before we do anything with, it won't be too late because we're not doing anything right now to design for the design review board. And we're not doing anything that requires the need for ordinance volunteer for the volunteer board. All I'm asking is logistically, is it the possibility that the bills will pass? And then when they pass, and I'm happy to hear from the attorney, when they pass, then we'll know what the specificities of the bill and know which way to go. That's all I'm asking.
Sorry, I might have misspoken. It passed the House and the Senate, both. So they're
All three,
through.
all three are finished.
All three.
Okay, then we look forward to entertaining what they say and not panic at this point.
They are not law in this sense. I mean, I just made a speech against the home-based businesses.
There you go.
Seems like a couple of days ago. I know that we had the Senate bill and I know they had the House bill. I cannot tell you as definitively as Mr. Morat that they have finally passed both houses, because sometimes in this last week, some bills ping pong back and forth.
Right.
But additionally, it is not typically the case that they become effective immediately upon passage. And there is still a remaining step. Most definitely, I can tell you that even if they have finally passed both houses, neither has been signed into law by the governor. And in fact, the governor does occasionally veto things that have passed both houses. It's not typical, but it's not exactly unheard of. The so-called divorce reform bill passed both houses, the governor vetoed it. So I would say typically most of this legislation would have an effective date specified. More often than not, that effective date is July 1st, but not necessarily. I mean, I could pull those two bills and try to get answers, but the bottom line is that I concur with Mr. Mulrat that if passed, they require action. If signed into law, they require action as to design review particularly, because like most things that come out of this legislature, they don't respect the role of local government. They're constantly trying to preempt local government's rights and powers. And myself and many of my colleagues fight that on behalf of city and counties, literally just about every day we're up here. So anyway, I concur with his analysis, except again, even if it's really finally through, perhaps the governor vetoes it. I would say that we need to keep a very sharp eye on what we finished Friday. So these are not items that'll come up in the special session. We could begin, we have enough time, if they are July 1st, we should probably look at coming up with an ordinance. I would, be able to help draft one. I would certainly, though, look as well to Plus Urbia as to the details of what we would do in design review. We could bring it for first reading in May at the May meeting, and assuming again that it is July 1st effective date, we could do second reading in June, by which time we would know for sure if the governor had allowed it to become law or vetoed it. Absent, sometimes there's a little technical glitch with when the bill is considered enrolled and engrossed before it's sent to the governor that extends his time for signing. But in any case, assuming that we move quickly, we could do a first reading in May and a second reading in June, and still probably have time, assuming even that the effective date was as soon as July 1st and not October 1st, which is also.
Perfect, Mr. Attorney. I will reach out to you to follow up on those three, just to clarify the Florida Building Code, which is related to the committee that I'm proposing. It passed in the House on the 22nd and then the Senate on the 26th. The one that you were asking, which was the home businesses, only passed the House, so not the Senate. So we're still waiting for that one, but we'll definitely
was
reach
House
out to the
Bill
attorney and make sure that
403?
we're
Senate or House Bill 403?
403.
Okay.
So again, 401, which is the Florida Building Code, which is the Committee
the-
for
that's the one you're
Architectural,
talking
that
about.
passed both House and Senate.
I got that. Which one did not and still is pending? Is that 403?
Let me pull it up just to make sure.
Home-based businesses, that's the one I'm asking.
Home-based
about.
businesses is 403, yes.
It did not
No.
pass yet, both
No,
houses.
it hasn't been to the Senate. It passed the House,
Okay, so it's pending the Senate.
pending Senate, yes. But I don't think that we need to do anything in terms of the zoning for us right now. I
Okay.
don't think.
Very good.
I'll look into it in a little more detail.
Okay.
That's it for me, Mr. Mayor, if you don't have
Thank
any
you, Mr.
questions.
Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. While you guys were doing that, I looked up the bills when Juan first started talking. And yes, the governor hasn't signed them yet. I just wanted to remind everybody, we do have a planning and zoning meeting coming up May 11th. So
We can discuss it
we
there.
can, anything you guys want to do, if you guys want to start, if you guys want to come to the planning and zoning meeting, May 11th, we're all on that board. If you guys want to come with an idea of a certain individual, if we all want to pick a person each, so there's 5 people on that board. If we want to get a head start, we can start to do that, brainstorm and things like that. Just wanted to throw that out there, you guys. All right. All right. Thank you, Juan. Appreciate it.
And we'll take your
Thank you
word.
all.
It will be free, right?
I'm sorry?
We'll tell you word. It will be free
Yeah, I
from
think,
you
yeah,
guys.
I think-
We
I
won't
think
charge
that's-
anything to the village.
That should be fine.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Moving on, you guys, to resolution H6. Thank you very much, Juan and Camila. Appreciate it, you guys. H6 is the resolution, you guys, for Be Free Freebie. Thank you very much, Madam Manager. I appreciate you. You guys know we've been working on this for a long time. This is our circulator that's coming to the village. That's going to take us downtown, right? And it's going to be a wonderful thing. We can put Vice Mayor Urbom knows me. I think Vice Mayor and Urbom and I, we were only two that were in that meeting that time. It was a nighttime meeting. Like a nighttime town hall meeting. We were there and we got all the details of this. It's going to be a wonderful thing. We can put ads on the circulator bus, you know what I'm saying? And we can, promote things and things like that for the village. So it's going to be really, really great, Madam Manager. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm going to keep it brief because I know we've talked about it extensively. I've written about it every chance I get, but we're very excited. The two items really go hand in hand, H6 and H7. The resolution for the freebie, Be Free agreement is for the service provider. Be Free Freebie provide the on-demand shuttle vehicles that operate the shuttle service for the village of El Portal. As you know, we don't have transportation, we don't have buses and that's where, so we do have to contract with an independent contractor to provide this. Be Free contracts with other municipalities. I believe Mr. Jason is on the Zoom if we have any questions, but I don't think we do. But if we do, they're available and free to answer any questions you all may have about the service agreement. But basically, they will provide the shuttle service. They will operate within the time that I outlined in my reports to you all, and they will provide an ambassador as the bus driver who will greet our guests, our passengers, and take good care of them to and from the Bright Line station in downtown Miami. It is an opportunity for the village to really put our money where our mouth is in terms of resiliency and decreasing our footprint. It is an awesome alternative to driving to and from downtown. So I hope that you will pass this item. And then H7 is the FDOT grant, which is the second part of this shuttle service. This is a grant that FDOT has provided the village at $60,000 to do the shuttle service. And the remaining funds for the service is $53,000 that the village will be providing to Be Free. That will come from our CITT funds. And those funds have been earmarked for transit. We can't use them for anything else but a project like this. So this is our opportunity to use our CITT funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. We will have two stops, you guys. When Vice Mayor Urbom and I were on that meeting, we will one stop. The stop for the east side will be here, Village Hall. The stop for the west side will be over right in front of Horace Mann, like right where the nature trail pretty much is. And we're going to be putting a tarp there. So because we're getting into summer, right, rainy season and stuff like that. So we will be putting a tarp over there on the west side for individuals who catch it over there on the west side. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
I'd like to move both H6 and H7 for approval.
H6 and H7, both resolutions, Be Free, Freebie Master Service Agreement, and FDOT grant that is the money that goes for the freebie, Be Free, Freebie. Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Urbom. Anybody from Zoom? How are we looking? Thumbs up. Seeing no residents in the audience. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Appreciate that. No, you're good. Yes. It was moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, second by Vice Mayor Urbom. Any last questions or comments from the council? That's good. Okay. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Urbom,
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes for both. You want me to call them individually?
Yes.
Call them individually?
Yes.
Okay. H7, which is the second resolution for the FDOT grant. Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yeah.
Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Urbom.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next resolution is Resolution 8. H8, you guys. This is the Pannoni Associates Revised Addendum number 1. Attorney Geller, I'm going to turn this over to you to kick off. This was something that's been ongoing that we've been trying to restart for a while. Attorney Geller, can't hear.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes, sir.
About the Pannoni Addendum number 1.
Yes, sir. Very briefly, as I think everyone on the council knows, we've been at a stop on this project for several years. There were some threats of litigation back and forth. Pannoni was quoting us to finish the existing project, which is septic to sewer. They were quoting us somewhere between $120,000 to $130,000. They had also to do work where they were awarded an RFQ previously on stormwater. They said that if they could do the work at the same time so that the streets did not have to be torn up twice, that they would be at $145,000. As per our discussion, we're not here to engage in litigation unless it's unavoidable. And, what was expressed to me in my discussions with members of council individually was that you were anxious to get the project moving and get something done for the residents, as opposed to getting into litigation that could not only be expensive, but drag on longer. There were some things we could do. I mean, there were some shortcuts that could be taken, but nonetheless, we got back with Pannoni, the manager and I. We engaged in some negotiation. Mayor, you were a part of some of that as well. And basically, we told Pannoni to sharpen their pencil. As the agreement in front of you, revised addendum number 1, reflects, they agreed to give us a flat price to finish the existing wastewater project of $100,000. That's $20,000 to $30,000 less than what they had requested. And that was, again, not really a firm price. This is. They also agreed that if we allowed them to move forward on the stormwater, which again, they had been awarded pursuant to an RFQ, but a contract was not entered into. As opposed to the $145,000, they would do that project at $129,000. So altogether, the prices are, depending on how much that first one would be, some $45,000 less than what they were proposing. Our recommendation is that that's a pretty good bang for the buck. That's a pretty good discount, and it is comparable to what we found it would cost to have someone else complete the project as far as the wastewater, and that would possibly require litigation as well. So our recommendation is that the council accept revised addendum number 1. They did put their, sharpen their pencils pretty good. And it allows us, instead of having litigation, both time consuming as well as expensive, it allows us to get both of these projects underway immediately. There is some discount that we're receiving because the streets will only have to be torn up once. They can, get in there and install whatever needs to be put down into the ground, both on the wastewater and on the stormwater at the same time. And so that results in less inconvenience for residents, for villagers. It results in a quicker completion on both, and we think it makes sense economically. Our recommendation is that you approve revised addendum number 1 and get these projects moving so we have construction being done instead of litigation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to Attorney Geller for bringing this home. When we first got back into negotiations with Pannoni, myself, Attorney Geller, and the village manager, we were in meetings with them, 3-hour meetings, Attorney Geller, 4-hour meetings with them to try to, for one thing, I mean, it was a bunch of things, but what we were trying to do is have these streets torn up just once, right? So that we can do the sewer and we can do storm drains and storm correction at the same time for flooding and stuff like that. And you know, once we had so many meetings over months, Madam Manager, right, Attorney Geller, at the very end, the one and only Attorney Geller brought it home. Me and the manager took a step back, and he did the final negotiation and got them to come down on their price. And things like that. Once we got all the details out of the way, as far as so El Portal would be able to achieve the most for our buck. I don't know, Madam Manager, if you want to add anything else, you're good? Okay. Any questions or comments from the council?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes.
And that is the scope of services, 2.1.5. And it says coordination of for pump station location 7, and it includes project reviews within with village project manager. Now,
Push it back. No, push that this way. You got an echo.
and so thank you. And so I understand that I don't know if then we have to, Mrs. Manager, do we have to then hire a project manager to act as a mediator between us and Pannoni when it comes to like oversees the project or the the plans? Because that was the problem we have at the beginning. That's where we are, where we had, for my understanding, that there was a project manager assigned to the project, and not knowing whether the pump station was going to be located, started drawing different plans, and then that's what everything started accumulating as far as money is concerned. So when I see this here, I see that they require us to have a project manager. If there's any plan for that, I mean, what is it that will be, what's the plan for that as far as hiring a project manager to oversee these plans or these design?
We certainly don't need to hire a new employee to do that. Whether that's something that the manager can do in the course of her duties, whether that's something that our grant consultant can do in the course of his duties. Remember that these projects are not really funded directly from village revenues. Part of the job that Pannoni is doing is to aid us in getting this paid for with very low-cost loans from the State Department of Environmental Protection. The interest rate is near zero, and they're 20-year loans. So that is part of their job under this. There's a very small amount of funds that's allocated to their assistance in getting the money. And then what's contemplated here for their earlier proposals is, while we would have someone who would keep tabs on them, essentially the owner's representative for the construction is contemplated to be Pannoni. They would be in charge, once the design is complete, of preparing a detailed set of plans that would be used to bid the project out. This is not like selecting a consultant when we use the CCNA, the Consultant Competitive Negotiation Act. This is a specific set of plans that Pannoni draws, and it's done by bid because there is no difference with potential bidders in how you do a set of plans that's already been drawn. So it's contemplated they would prepare the bid documents. They would assist us in actually bidding out the project and having the village council make a selection. The discretion is very limited here because, again, for a specified set of plans, it's whoever's going to, that's capable of doing the work. That is a prerequisite. They have to demonstrate that they are, responsive and responsible. But based on that, the village council awards it to the low bidder. And thereafter, it would be Pannoni that would continue as the owner's rep to be sure that construction proceeds according to the plans. So you're correct, Councilman. And in fact, as Public Works Chair, the direct supervision from a policy standpoint would be reported back to your committee, but it essentially is a self-executing thing. The manager or a project manager would basically be simply reviewing what Pannoni does as the owner's rep.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Gurley.
Thank you. Any further questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilperson.
I'd like to move the motion that we accept the recommendation as presented from a policy position. The
Motion to-
manager has already done her work, and I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Motion to approve resolution
H,
H8, Pannoni Associates Revised Addendum number 1. Motion moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Second by Vice Mayor Erbaum. Anybody on Zoom? How we looking on Zoom? We're good. Nobody in the audience? Anybody in the audience? We good? I see no residents. All right. Any last questions or comments from the council? You good? Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
yes.
Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Erbaum.
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Let me just say this real quick, you guys, for the council. All of you, thank you very much. You may not realize it. Look at Madam Manager, look at the clerk's face.
Mhm.
You may not realize it. The stuff we started to pass today, this may be one of the most important. This is definitely one of the most important. This may be the most important council meeting I've ever been a part of. The stuff we started today is going to set up El Portal's future in a way that we never would have been able to dream of 5, 6, 8 years ago. I really appreciated you guys. I really appreciate you guys being up on your stuff, doing your homework, passing these items. This is the essential meeting for the future of El Portal.
Mhm.
I really appreciate that, you guys. Thank you very, very much.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
before my colleague, the vice mayor, uses up 30 more minutes, let me just say, I recognize that, and I don't think we have to repeat it, and your remarks seal the deal. Your remarks just now seal the deal, because truly, you all have been, former councils have been looking at this stuff, aggravating me to death that they didn't get passed because of all of the rhetoric and things that had nothing to do with what the needs of the village are. With that said, can we move on?
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. But everybody has opportunity to speak here today. But I appreciate you guys. I really do appreciate it. I will say this, you guys, some of this stuff is time sensitive. Don't be surprised if we may, the clerk reaches out to you because we may need to have a special meeting to do the second reading for some of these ordinances to get them through, because especially like permit fees, there's a lot of development going up. We're missing out daily, Madam Manager.
Yes.
We're missing out daily on permit fees we should be getting because these aren't passed yet. You saw that fence went up around the church?
Yes,
A bunch of stuff we're missing out on daily,
yes.
money daily that we're missing out on. So we might need to have a special meeting to come back to do these second readings. Thank you very much, Madam Manager. The floor is yours for your manager report. Thank you, you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. I have so many things to say, but I'm going to try to keep it very limited because I really want to touch on the hot points, and thank you all for tonight's meeting. We went through all of these items very quickly, and as the mayor stated, I mean, these are key to a lot of projects moving forward, finally. A lot of things I've been working on for the past we're almost 4 years, and the village has been working on, so we will see that come to fruition. But that said, I just want to give you an update about some things that are affected by the coronavirus. One is the American Rescue Program funds that are coming through the federal government. It's a FEMA funding that we have been earmarked for $1 million. A lot of other municipalities are getting these funds as well. El Portal is slated for the one, but we have to meet certain criteria. Those criteria are pretty difficult for a little functioning municipality, but we're going to do our best. It's for funding distressed businesses or home programs. We don't have that. It's for the payment of essential employees who are not police, public works, and we don't even have a public works at this point. Revenue replacement for lost funds due to COVID-19. We haven't lost that since we are purely property tax based. Water, sewer, and broadband upgrades. That's what we fall into. So really, we're pushing any water projects we can it says it must have been affected by COVID. Well, a lot of things we're doing is affected by COVID. So I will be pursuing funding under stormwater, septic to sewer, and any water projects that we can fit in. That said, as you know, today even, we made a request for infrastructure funding from the federal government through Congresswoman Frederica Wilson for a northeast to northwest 87th Avenue road repair for the entirety of 87th Street. That is what qualified under those federal guidelines. And we are hopeful. We're requesting 1.3 million from the federal government for that infrastructure project as part of Congresswoman Wilson's overall package, and I'm very hopeful. We've asked in the past for various things and had a big net, but this is very specific, and we worked with our engineers at Craig A. Smith and Associates, as well as an engineer with Miami-Dade County, Mr. Rosenberg, who works for the TPO. So that is one that qualified, and we'll have our fingers crossed, but that is what the letter was that you all signed over the weekend and even today, requesting those funds for that. But that goes toward our Resilient Streets effort. You know, that's something that we can maybe fund if we are getting those funds we can utilize for that. So everything kind of works together in so many ways. As you know, we opened the Tot Lot last Friday, and we are all really very happy to have it utilized and see our little kids, you know, having a fun place and fun, safe place to go. We sanitized last Friday. The park will now be sanitized 3 times a week under the CDC guidelines and Miami-Dade County executive orders. That is appropriate. Municipalities are allowed to sanitize and clean as they are capable, and that is what we're capable of. As I stated before, we don't have a public works staffer at the moment. That is because we don't have a truck, and I have not, I've suspended the hiring process for that position until the truck comes in. I've been told by our interim CFO that we have to wait till the end of June because of state procurement, which you all know we did utilize a procurement process through the Florida Sheriff's Association. And so June is our date, end of June, actually. So in the interim, we will be using Clean and Clear. They clean our internal offices here at the Village Hall. They did all of our sanitizing, so they will be cleaning our parks over the next couple of months until the truck comes in and we reassess that function for public works and maintenance. So the park will be cleaned again on Wednesday, tomorrow, and we will be excited to have our kids back in the park and utilizing all of our parks. Speaking of parks, I got a notice today about the Soares River State Park and the nature trail. We are going to be given authorization to renovate the park. We will not be given deeds. The county wants to maintain the ownership in case El Portal ever decides that it's not going to maintain it as a park, or in case the county decides it needs the right of way for transportation. But that's not bad news. We can still renovate these parks. So I will be circling back. This was just given today. I got an email. So I'm going to have to meet and just get the official correspondence with the authorization, so that then I can then go on with our the Parks Department to find architect engineers to start doing the planning for our parks. So that's a good thing that we're able to move forward with that. And I will keep you very informed as that comes online. And let's see, I mean, there's so many things. I've been meeting with the Little River AAA team to consolidate the message of the large funding request that was made of the state of Florida. It's $66 million through Senator Jason Pizzo. We're a part of the AAA El Portal. And if that funding comes through, that could mean septic to sewer for Northeast 2nd Avenue, as well as some residents, or in fact, the entirety of the village of El Portal. So we met yesterday. We continue to meet regularly to stay on message and to advocate for those funds. Today, I also met with the FEMA coordinator regarding those FEMA flood insurance maps, the amendments that I've put on the website and spoken with you all individually about. We aren't in the appeal stage yet. I think that is a good thing if people are able to get insurance for their flood damage. And from where the FEMA stands right now, the insurance is not a requirement, but it will be something that we will have to discuss once they figure out what the, I guess, once the community weighs in. So I have not gotten any correspondence with anyone or any questions yet, but hopefully that will come and people will look at it. And if they have concerns about their own communities or their own blocks or their elevations, that they will bring that to the village or to FEMA. And so we can discuss that and see if we're even eligible for an amendment to the new plan or the new mapping. But I think the flood maps are important for those residents who really are suffering. Let's see. The El Portal transportation circulator. Yay, I'm so excited. That's going to start in the next couple of weeks as soon as I get those contracts sent out first thing in the morning. So we're excited about that. And I'm happy that we'll be getting that up and running as quickly as possible. I told you about that. I do want to state that with the building fee increases, that's going to be really helpful to the department. I know everyone's been receiving emails and calls that, you know, from your neighbors and other residents saying that they've been having some delays or they want to get through to someone. We have one person running that department, and Mr. Jean comes in to handle more detailed or more involved cases as the building official. But in the past, in many years in the past, that was a two-person department. We definitely need one more person doing building permits and filing, putting those files back. The other issue is that we really should not be on paper anymore. This needs to be all electronic in that office. So many times, because they're so busy, the file is put down, and then when they go to find it next week, they can't find it. So we need all of these things scanned. We need an electronic system. So the increase in the fees can only be used for the building department. And I think this is important utilization of those fees to get us all electronic and to bring on one more person to help with processing the permits, filing, and just enhancing that department. So I'm hopeful for it. And I think you'll see tremendous change and difference as well there. I think the residents would appreciate that. Code enforcement continues to thrive. It looks a lot different around here already, but our code enforcement officer has been diligent in really addressing a lot of long-term problem properties and just talking to people, even when they're not doing the right things. I think they take her they take her very seriously, but they find that she's friendly and effective. She's firm, but she's open enough to work with the residents. So I've been getting lots of compliments, and I'm happy to see the long list of her activities, which you'll see in my monthly report as well. And I'm just gonna let you take a look at the report, and any questions you may have of me, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. I'm available, and I appreciate that everyone's, now open to talking with me on a Thursday or Friday, or when you are able to, so that we can have our time. Our 30-minute little quick sessions are helpful, and sometimes they go a little bit longer, but it's all in preparation for what we're doing here, and that's the business of the village. So with that, I appreciate you all, and I think we've done some good things over this last month. I'm looking forward to bigger things. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Thank you very much, Madam Manager. I'm going to roll through this, you guys, super quick. I want to give a shout out to, our lobbying firm and Representative Dottie Joseph. They're really fighting hard for that Horace Mann traffic calming. And Dottie Joseph has gotten it passed. Our representative has gotten it passed a couple of levels at the full $300,000 ask. So let's, keep our fingers crossed and hope that continues to go, because any type of traffic calming and things like that, any money brought to the village would be a wonderful thing. I want to give a shout out to Vice Mayor Erbaum, the Women's Club, the president of the Women's Club, who's also the vice chair of the Sustainability and Resiliency Task Force, who is Maribel Fruitstone. The spring egg hunt went off wonderfully. Really appreciate that, Vice Mayor Erbaum. Thank you very, very much. That was a great event for everybody involved. It was done differently for social distancing and things like that, and it really worked out, I think, wonderfully. So I really want to appreciate you for that. I want to say I've been having so many Mayor Coalition meetings with Mayor Levine Cava. You guys heard me when they were trying to get this stuff ready. I was starting to talk about a few of them that we had just every night in a row or whatever. We're trying to do so much. I remember you guys got the email about when we went to the Miami Shores and we recognized the mayor, who was the first African-American mayor, Krista Wagner, it was her last meeting, which was it was Tuesday the 6th, April 6th, and myself and the village manager went there, which was really, really nice. We presented her with a really nice award, so that was really wonderful, and she just wanted to give her thanks to all of you guys for that. So thank you very much for that. We're not going to talk about the PVA impasse. I joined Mayor Levine Cava on Saturday, April 10th. We had another event for environmentalism. It was a great event. She was kind enough, she recognized me, and we were able to speak to a lot of individuals for that, a lot of elected officials about different things concerning the environment and El Portal in general. Those are all my meetings with Levine Cava. I did attend the ESAC meeting at Horace Mann. That was on April 20th. And here was the agenda here. And I'll be bringing up more of this stuff when we do either public affairs. I'll talk about what came out of this and things like that for the Horace Mann, the ESAC meeting. We did the Earth Day, the Earth Day presentation. They did, you guys know Pelican Harbor Bay is opening up the Pelican Harbor Bay Seabird Station. They're opening up a new facility right across the river, right where Hugh Gladwin's house is, right down here in Sherwood Forest at the very end, right across the river. They're opening up a new station. They had us, we could RSVP and go out there and get a tour of how the new station is going to look. And we did that on Earth Day, which was April 22nd, Thursday, April 22nd. It was wonderful. It was a private VIP tour. I think I sent the email. I usually send everything out to you guys. So that was really good, you guys. That was that. And again, Arbor Day, really appreciate you, Vice Mayor Erbaum, for putting it together. Appreciate the tree board. Appreciate the Women's Club for that. Last night, myself, I sent this out to everybody also. There was a Crime Watch meeting last night. I don't know if you guys saw that in your emails. There's a Crime Watch meeting last night. That was Monday at 7:00 p.m. And the Vice Mayor was on there. Chief Magnuson was also on there. And some things came out of that. But we do have, which leads me to my next thing, we do have the public safety meeting next week. Also today, myself and the village manager was on a hour and a half, very in-depth meeting. It was very in-depth. Well, it was a lot of information about the the flood insurance and the consultation coordination with flooding and things like that. Myself and the village manager was on that meeting today. Just want to kind of, keep it out to you guys. I'm going to end it right here. Just start thinking about your meetings. You guys might have saw I put out the public safety current agenda items today. I put that out today. So you guys know next Tuesday is going to come fast, you guys, right? Because the reason why I put mine out today was because the village clerk, she needs time to, whatever your agenda is going to be, she needs time to put it together. She has to get it out and things like that. So just understand that, she's trying to get these agendas out by like Friday morning, so try to think about what you want on your agenda. On next Tuesday, May 4th, we have public safety at 6:30. That's the committee that I chair. And like I said, I put my email about current agenda items earlier today. Public Works is after that at 7 o'clock, and code enforcement is at 7:30. So that's this upcoming Tuesday, May 4th. And the next Tuesday after that, May 11th, you guys have public affairs, administration and finance, and planning and zoning, which has all of us on it. All right, that's all for my report. Oh,
Mayor,
Madam Manager.
may I say something? I don't know how I missed this part, but it's very important. The police department. I must have skipped over the page, but I just wanted to say thank you again for the first reading, the passage of the
Development.
expanding the use of those developers' fees. It's so important to this department. We don't have the funds that we need to replace the vehicles and to address some staffing issues. Presently, we're down 3 police officers. One is out on extended medical leave. The other one just had COVID until today, and he's back at work. And then we have another one who's a part-timer who just resigned. I'm sorry. And then Officer Paul Battaglia resigned and moved on to North Bay Village. So we're down some officers, and we are down some vehicles. As you see, that fleet remains what it is. And so it is so imperative that these funds be utilized to start addressing those areas of lack. We're also continuing with the negotiation of the PBA, with the PBA for the collective bargaining agreement, and things are going well with that as well. I'm sure I'm taking away from the attorney's section when I'll let him say that. But I just wanted to address that there are some immediate needs in police that we really need to address as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Madam Manager. I do have police vehicles on my public safety committee meeting next week. I advise if you guys ever get a chance in the daytime and you're walking past Village Hall, just walk back there and look at all the police vehicles, and you'll see all the X's. Just look at the glass, right, Chief? And you'll see it will amaze you. It's like 2 police vehicles that don't have the X's on it. Yeah. So, that's very, very important, you guys. And the chief will tell you this. It's been so bad, you guys, that we've even had police officers that couldn't do their shifts because they didn't have a car. Think about how crazy that is. Couldn't do their shifts because they didn't have a car. And so just keep that in mind. And as always, everybody here under me will be able to speak freely. Next is the village attorney report. Attorney Geller.
Yes, sir. Well, let me report on a few things. Let me start with a quick action item. As the council, or most of the council knows, we've had an ongoing situation at 60 Northwest 90th Street where there are liens and there was work that was being done. The work problem has been remedied. The owner of the property has been working very closely with the building official, Mr. Jean, and is now, to the best of my knowledge, in compliance. As to the liens, we'd gotten an offer of $20,000, and then there was some discussion about plus possibly some percentage of a net when the property sold. We rejected those. We got an offer of 30, which we turned down, but finally, in negotiating back and forth, we've received an offer of $35,000 payable within 2 weeks without having to wait for the property to sell. I think that's a good number. It's a strong number. It's above the typical percentage that is recovered on code enforcement liens. And Mayor, if you could just ask for just a quick motion to approve accepting that money, I'll get the paperwork finalized.
May I please have a motion approving the acceptance of the money for the lien,
$35,000.
$35,000. Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. May I please have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Erbaum. Is there any discussion from the council? Any questions or comments before we take a vote? Hearing none. How are we looking on Zoom? We're good. I see nobody in the audience for comment. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call,
Can you
please?
just repeat the address for the record?
The address is
6060 Northwest 90th Street, I believe.
90. I thought yours was 91st Street. Was it 90th or 91st?
I
90th?
stand corrected. I'll have to yield to the.
Yes. 60 Northwest 91st Street.
Thank you.
430, what, how much? Okay. Councilperson Martin,
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Perrella. Vice Mayor Erbaum,
Yes.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, back on you, Attorney Geller, for your report.
The next item is, as the manager was talking about, we've been negotiating back and forth with the PBA. As you know, for some reason, the last set of negotiations with PBA resulted in an impasse. There was a full impasse hearing that was held. The village lost. And for reasons I don't understand, council at the time did not recommend that any kind of an appeal or exception be taken. Typically, governmental entities have the right to reject those findings and impose a settlement based on their financial ability, but apparently that was not recommended. The result is that the adverse ruling acquired the force of law and left us in a really potentially difficult situation, not for this fiscal year. The one thing that the master did was put it off to begin next fiscal year, but that's rapidly approaching like a train bearing down on us. What we've done is go to the PBA and propose not to take anything away from the officers, but to provide a smoother path. We're currently out of contract. Our last labor contract with PBA expired last September 30. So we've been without a contract since October 1. 3-year contracts are typical. We've proposed a 3-year contract. We've proposed some small raises retroactive to October 1st of this year. And we've proposed some larger raises than would otherwise be the case in year 3, all with the goal of taking down, dismantling the brick wall we were about to run into in year 2. I'm pleased to say that recently the PBA responded. There obviously are some non-financial items that were discussed, things like uniforms and vacation days and sick days and all kinds of things. But they've responded favorably in principle to what we have proposed, which means a new step plan. At this time, I'll take the opportunity to formally request on the record an executive session of the council, which means a session that is not initially done in public. Of course, all of our meetings are public because of the Sunshine Law. There are two principal exceptions. One is to discuss actual ongoing litigation. The other is to discuss labor negotiations. And the reason for both of those is you can't talk about what you're going to offer someone if they're sitting in the audience listening to you saying, well, offer them this, and if they don't take it, give them this. Sort of defeats the purpose. These meetings are not secret. They're just not public at the time. We do have the right to ask everyone not on the council or staff to leave. but the meetings are attended by a court reporter. The court reporter takes down everything that's been said and by who, and after the lawsuit, or in this case, labor negotiation, is resolved, that transcript becomes public, so the public ultimately knows. Nonetheless, in trying to reach a settlement, it's essential for the manager and I to have the private confidential thoughts of counsel, of the members of the council, so that we know where to go with a negotiation. Ultimately, to be clear, any deal reached must be voted on and accepted by the village council in an open public session. So we're not going to run off and make some deal that's other than what you want, but I am going to request on the record, when we get to the penultimate point in negotiations, we'll meet with you privately to make sure that what we're trying to finalize is something that's agreeable to you. We don't take a vote, we just get a consensus. And based on that, hopefully we can get the bargaining unit to ratify it, and then you can ratify a final agreement. And I'm very pleased that I think we will be able to achieve labor peace with our union. The union did also raise with us, kind of on a separate track, the issue of staffing levels. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to address that issue immediately. We will certainly have to do it in the relatively near future. And that's one of the reasons for the adjustment in Cavista fees. But they raised the issue of vehicles, as the manager was talking about, urgently. And we promised them an urgent response. And your actions tonight will enable us to give them a better response than we've heretofore been able to give them. So I thank you for that. Just to conclude the report, those are the two main action items. I do want to say this is the conclusion, essentially, of my 6 months here as interim attorney. We began the 1st of November. So November, December, January, February, March, and now at the end of April. And just without taking time, because it is late, since we came, we've been able to reach an agreement with our FEMA contractor to get the FEMA back on track. We've been paid down approximately 50% of the amount that's owed to our bank, and look to be able to make arrangements to term out and extend the rest. And we've had an appeal filed, which we are certainly hopeful will be successful. We have, by your actions tonight, as the mayor said, resolved several years of impasse with Panoni. We have finally achieved something to raise the building permit fees without getting into a confrontation with the one large development underway now, the Cavista project. We've approved on first reading your ordinance to allow some flexibility in how the funds from the development agreement are going to be used. I should point out the numbers are not going to change, just how we spend the money. And we're opening up for additional development by allowing restaurants that will serve some kind of modified alcoholic beverages by changing the ordinance, resolving some old running lien issues. Recently got on track also with Craig Smith and Associates to move the other project forward. So I have to say that I think we found a lot of long simmering problems, but to this point, it looks like we're on track towards resolution of pretty much every long running difficulty that's been stymieing the village progress. We hope from that to be able to allow this new council, this new mayor and new village council to not have to keep looking backwards to what holds you back, but to allow you to look forward to your vision of where you want to take this village. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Attorney Geller. Appreciate that. All right, you guys. Good and welfare. First of all, is there anybody from the council that has any questions for Attorney Geller? Questions, comments, you guys good?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may I
Councilperson
commend the
Lightfoot.
village attorney? That was a very informed report. And a lot going on. I'm glad to see we're not in impasse with the PBA, which is dear near to me. I basically cut my teeth on the PBA relative to how to negotiate as a city manager. I'm very pleased to hear that report. Very pleased that you reached out for some things, and I've got one thing that you made me remember. Thank you so much for a very informative and helpful in these agenda items as well tonight. We almost made it, City Manager, and I'm going to make some comments on it later, Mayor. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot. Anybody else for questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Good and welfare. This right here is for anybody, any resident, anybody in the audience who wants to come up and say anything at all. You have 3 minutes, name and address for the record. You can speak about anything at all. It doesn't have to be just things on this agenda. How are we looking on Zoom? Thumbs up. Another shout out to Full Moon. Another shout out to Full Moon. All right, you guys, seeing no good and welfare. Motion to adjourn. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, do you want to speak before we adjourn?
I did.
Okay.
And I don't want to speak down there. I want to speak up here. I've been approached to place something that we've been avoiding for a long time. One villager brought it to my attention, and then I got more people engaged. They reminded me that during the time of Miss Edmondson, by that time we had a very decent hour that we turned out. By the time former Mayor Edmondson was here, she said, listen, we are not going to keep doing this. We are going to stop at 10 o'clock because as the mayor, she said that. And the residents understood, applauded her at that time. What it is that we forget that we are a village of families, and most people are engaged on Zoom if they engaged at all. And I'm about to do what was suggested, that at our next election, that I proffer an item on that to limit the time frame. Now, we don't need a babysitter. This is my defense of the council. We don't need a babysitter. But they said a lot of times we are missing the mark in understanding that people have families. This is Tuesday night, once a night. It's enough that the village committees last forever, but the village council, this is why I've been so adamant, and they have scolded me because they know my ability in Robert Rules of Order. How could you make this continue to happen? We should be concerned that villagers are not only, if they tap in, and when they don't, they tap in on the weekends and see it run. Am I right about that? Can you see it? Because I have never seen it, okay? And it's too long. That was the message that was not just my block. Others are saying, people, you don't have to talk like that. And I said, well, let's see, you're going to be happy with the agenda. And I'll make it my point to show you that we don't have to be that long. And thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I will certainly bring it to my colleagues that people are watching. They want to engage us. They want to be a part of us, but they don't want to find themselves not putting the children to bed. They don't want to be reminded that we were here to make a decision, not to make it our show. So council, I want you to look at it like that. I don't want us to be guided by a referendum on the next election ballot that says our time for start and finish will be ABC. We don't have to do it that way. Village clerk has more to do with that than anything when she starts letting us know this is how the vote goes, you all. And she goes through it live. Look at the manager's report. Very succinct, very informative, and we didn't miss anything. Look at the attorney's report. He told us what we needed and was through with it. Look at the planner. He said, I'm not going to give you a whole lot. I'm just going to give you a ref, just for reference of what I've been dealing with. People, we have to begin to understand that even the police chief needs to go home to his family. So please work with me on this. I don't want a referendum telling us what we can do as responsible people sitting here by the will of the people. And I did, and even if you were unopposed, as my colleague was, it still says they had confidence in us to make the necessary changes. I'm telling you, Mayor, they're going to be really happy with tonight's meeting because as I understood it, these have been longstanding meetings. These have been longstanding items. And how dare we wait until 2 new people get on the council, and Farrella, you still considered new, to make us what we should be in terms of our business affairs. Thank you very much. And I'll entertain the motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else for good and welfare? You good? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You just had it.
I'll
Need a
second.
Motion to adjourn by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, second by Vice Mayor Erbaum. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no nays, the regular council meeting for Tuesday, April 27, 2021 is adjourned at 9:36 p.m.
Thank you.
This is a record since I've been here. Thank you.